There is a pain that cuts deeper than a sword, a wound that doesn't bleed on the outside but leaves a scar on the soul. It is the pain of betrayal. Maybe you've felt it, a friend who turned their back on you, a spouse who broke their vows, a family member who abandoned you when you needed them most. Or maybe it was someone you trusted, someone you believed would always stand by your side, only to find yourself alone in your darkest hour. But I have good news for you today. God sees it all, the betrayal, the rejection, the lies spoken against you. None of it has escaped his sight. And though people may fail you, God never will. The Bible is filled with stories of betrayal. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. David was hunted by King Saul, a man he had served faithfully. Jesus himself was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, denied by Peter, and abandoned by his disciples. But in each of these stories, there is one undeniable truth. God defended his people. When Joseph's own flesh and blood betrayed him, God raised him up to become second in command over Egypt. When David was hunted and falsely accused, God made him king over Israel. And when Jesus was crucified, God raised him from the dead, defeating sin and death forever. Listen to me, no betrayal can stop God's plan for your life. The enemy wants you to focus on the pain, on the injustice, on the people who walked away, but God wants you to lift your eyes to him. He is your defender. He will repay, he will restore, and he will turn what was meant for your harm into something good. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a person can experience. It comes not from strangers, but from those we trust, the ones we open our hearts to, the ones we share our dreams with. It can shake the very foundation of our faith in people, leaving us hurt, confused, and even questioning God. The Bible is filled with stories of betrayal. A brother turns against his own flesh and blood. A friend trades loyalty for silver. A disciple denies the one who called him. We read these stories and feel their pain because we too have known what it means to be abandoned, rejected, and deceived. Perhaps you have felt it. A close friend who suddenly walked away, a spouse who broke their vows, a trusted confidant who spread lies behind your back. The sting of betrayal is sharp because it comes from those we never expected to hurt us. It is a wound that doesn't just touch the body but pierces the soul. But there is one who understands. One who was betrayed with a kiss. One who was abandoned in his darkest hour. He knows what it means to be wounded by those closest to him. And because he understands, he is the only one who can truly heal. The pain of betrayal is real, but it is not the end of the story. People may fail us, but God never will. Even in the midst of hurt, he is working. Even when it feels like everything is falling apart, he is still in control. What others meant for evil, he can turn for good. And the betrayal that sought to break you will become the very thing that leads you into God's purpose for your life. Nothing is hidden from the eyes of God. In the quiet corners of the world where whispers are exchanged, in the darkness where deception takes root, in the places where men scheme and plot, God sees it all. No secret remains secret before him. No betrayal escapes his notice. No injustice goes unseen. When people speak against you behind closed doors, when they conspire to harm you, when they pretend to be for you while working against you, remember this. Their words may be hidden from human ears, but they are not hidden from God. He hears every false accusation. He watches every act of deception. He knows the motives of every heart. Throughout history, the wicked have thought they could sin in secret, that their actions would never be exposed. But time and time again, God has revealed the hidden things. The schemes of men are like a mist before him, here for a moment and then exposed in the light of his truth. Maybe you have been wronged and no one seems to know. Maybe lies have been told about you and no one seems to care. Maybe someone has hurt you and they walk freely as if nothing happened. But do not be discouraged. Do not lose heart. The God who sees in secret will bring justice in his time. What is done in the dark will be brought into the light. What is spoken in whispers will one day be shouted from the rooftops. You do not have to fight for yourself, because he fights for you. You do not have to seek revenge, because he will make all things right. Rest in the truth that the one who knows all things is working on your behalf. He is your defender, your refuge, your righteous judge, and in his perfect time, he will reveal the truth for all to see. When the world turns against you, when friends walk away, when enemies rise up and speak lies about you, there is one who stands by your side. He is your defender, your protector, your refuge in the storm. Others may fail you, but he never will. The battles of life can be overwhelming. Sometimes it feels like you are surrounded on all sides with no one to turn to, no one to fight for you. But you are not alone. There is one who watches over you, who goes before you, who stands behind you. He is not distant or unaware of what you are going through. He sees every tear, every hurt, every injustice, and he promises to be your shield, your strong tower, your place of safety. Throughout history, those who put their trust in him have never been abandoned. When a young shepherd boy stood before a giant with only a sling and a stone, it was not his strength that won the battle. It was the power of the one who defended him. When an army surrounded a prophet and his servant trembled in fear, the prophet prayed, and suddenly the servant's eyes were opened to see the hosts of heaven standing ready to fight. Time and time again, the faithful have been rescued, not by their own might, but by the hand of the one who never fails. You do not have to take matters into your own hands. You do not have to seek revenge, prove your innocence, or fight back with anger. The one who created the heavens and the earth is the one who will defend you. He knows the truth. He knows your heart. He knows the battles you face, and he has promised that no weapon formed against you will prosper. The world may try to harm you, but he will turn it for good. The enemy may plot against you, but he will silence every accusation. Those who rise up against you may think they have won, but in the end, justice belongs to him. Stand firm. Trust in his power. He is your defender, and he will never let you fall. There is something in the human heart that cries out for justice. When we are wronged, when we are betrayed, when we suffer at the hands of others, the natural response is to want to strike back, to make things right in our own strength. But the one who created the heavens and the earth has spoken. Vengeance is mine, I will repay. He sees every injustice. He knows every secret betrayal, every false accusation, every unfair treatment. Nothing escapes his eyes, and nothing is beyond his reach. The world may tell you to take matters into your own hands, to seek revenge, to make them pay for what they've done. But vengeance is not yours to carry. It belongs to him. There are moments in life when it seems as if the wicked prosper, as if those who do evil escape without consequence. But do not be deceived. God is not mocked. The scales of justice may not be balanced in this world, but they are balanced in his hand. Every act of wickedness, every deceitful scheme, every betrayal will be answered for in his time. The burden of revenge is heavy, and it was never meant for you to bear. When you try to fight your own battles, you carry a weight that only leads to bitterness and pain. But when you surrender it to him, when you trust him to judge righteously, you are freed from that burden. You no longer have to dwell on the hurt, no longer have to plan how to make things right, because he will do it for you. And when he acts, his justice is perfect. His ways are higher, his timing is precise, and his judgment is final. Leave it in his hands. The battle is not yours, it never was. He will repay, he will restore, and he will bring justice in a way that only he can. Pain is never without meaning. It may feel unbearable at times, like a weight pressing down on your soul, like a storm that will never pass. But nothing in your life is wasted. Every tear you have cried, every wound you have endured, every moment of suffering, there is a purpose behind it all. There are things in life that can only be learned through trials. Strength is not built in comfort. It is forged in the fire of hardship. Faith is not deepened in ease. It grows when everything around you is shaken. Patience, endurance, and trust in God are not developed when life is perfect, but when everything seems to be falling apart. Pain has a way of drawing you closer to the one who holds your future. When life is smooth, it is easy to rely on yourself, to think you have everything under control. But in suffering, you realize your need for something greater. You cry out, and he hears. You reach for hope, and he answers. And through it all, he is shaping you, preparing you, making you into someone who can stand firm no matter what comes. Some of the greatest victories are born out of the deepest struggles. What was meant to destroy you will become the very thing that strengthens you. The hurt that seemed unbearable will one day be the testimony that encourages someone else. And the season of pain you never thought you would survive will be the foundation for the greatest blessings in your life. You may not see the purpose now. You may not understand why the pain had to come. But one day you will look back and realize that every moment of suffering was not in vain. It was part of a greater plan, a plan designed not to break you, but to build you into exactly who you were meant to be. There is no pain you have felt that he does not understand, no betrayal you have endured that he has not experienced, no rejection, no abandonment, no wound of the heart that he has not carried. He walked this earth surrounded by people who praised him one day and turned against him the next. He healed the sick, fed the hungry, and loved without condition, yet he was betrayed by those closest to him. One of his own disciples, a man who had walked with him, seen his miracles, and heard his teachings, sold him for a handful of silver. A friend turned into an enemy with a simple kiss. Another, who swore he would stand by his side no matter what, denied even knowing him when the pressure was on. And in his most painful moment, when he needed them the most, those who had followed him fled in fear. He knows the sting of betrayal. He knows what it means to be abandoned by those he trusted. He knows what it feels like to have people smile to his face while secretly working against him. He understands the deep pain of being rejected, despised, and falsely accused. But he also showed us how to respond. He did not fight back. He did not seek revenge. He did not allow bitterness to take root. Instead, he forgave. Even as he hung in agony, he looked at those who had betrayed him, those who had mocked him, those who had nailed him to a cross, and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." If you have been betrayed, you are not alone. The one who understands your pain is the one who can heal it. The one who was rejected is the one who will never leave you. And the one who was wounded is the one who will restore you. Betrayal does not have the final word. He does. And he will turn your pain into something greater than you could ever imagine. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is power. The world tells us that holding on to anger, seeking revenge, and making others pay for what they've done is strength. But true strength is found in letting go. True victory is not in getting even, but in rising above the hurt, in choosing to release the burden of bitterness and allowing peace to take its place. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened was right. It does not excuse the betrayal, the lies, or the pain that others have caused. But it frees you. It releases you from the prison of resentment. When you hold on to unforgiveness, the one who hurt you continues to have power over you. Their actions control your emotions, your thoughts, and your peace. But when you forgive, you break that control. You step into freedom, no longer chained to the past. Forgiveness is not just for them, it is for you. It lifts the heavy weight from your heart. It allows you to heal, to move forward, to live without the poison of anger consuming your soul. It is not always easy, and sometimes it feels impossible, but it is not done in your own strength. There is a greater power at work, one that enables you to do what seems beyond human ability. When you forgive, you reflect the love and mercy that has been shown to you. You have been forgiven much, and in that forgiveness you find the strength to extend the same to others. And in doing so, you walk in the fullness of peace, no longer bound by the pain of yesterday. Forgiveness is not a sign of defeat. It is the greatest victory of all. Betrayal has a way of revealing what is hidden. It strips away the mask, exposing what lies beneath. People can speak of loyalty, they can promise faithfulness, they can appear to be with you, but it is in the moment of testing that their true heart is revealed. Not everyone who walks with you is for you. Some people are only there when times are good. Some will celebrate your success but secretly envy it. Others will smile to your face while plotting against you behind closed doors. And some, like Judas, will stay close, not out of love, but waiting for the moment to betray. But betrayal is not just about the one who turns against you. It also reveals what is inside your own heart. It tests your faith, your character, your trust in God. Will you allow bitterness to take root? Will you seek revenge? Or will you surrender it to the one who judges righteously? Will you let betrayal make you hard and closed off? Or will you allow it to refine you? The truth is, betrayal hurts, but it also purifies. It separates the true from the false. It removes those who are never meant to go where God is taking you. It deepens your dependence on Him rather than on people, and it prepares you for something greater. Though betrayal is painful, it is never wasted. It reveals who is truly with you. It strengthens your spirit, and it draws you closer to the one who will never betray you. What was meant to break you will instead build you, and in the end you will see that even in the pain, His hand was at work all along. Loss is never the end of the story. There are moments in life when everything seems to be taken from you. Friendships that once felt unbreakable fall apart, opportunities slip away, and betrayal leaves you feeling empty and alone. But what is lost in the hands of man is never beyond the power of God to restore. Restoration is not just about getting back what was taken. It is about God giving you something greater. He does not simply return things to the way they were. He brings you into something better, something stronger, something you never could have imagined. What was meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that lifts you higher. Throughout history, there are stories of those who lost everything, but found that God was not finished. A man who was betrayed by his own brothers and thrown into prison was later raised to a place of honor. A man who was hunted and rejected became a king. A man who was beaten and left for dead carried the message of hope to the nations. Their suffering was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater than they could see. You may have lost time, relationships, opportunities, or trust, but God is not limited by what has been taken. He can restore years that were stolen. He can mend what was broken. He can turn pain into purpose, sorrow into joy, and loss into gain. The world may count you out, but He never does. If you remain faithful, if you keep trusting, you will see His hand at work. What you thought was gone forever will be restored in ways you never expected. He is a God of redemption, and no loss is beyond His power to restore. There are moments in life when the enemy seems to have the upper hand, when betrayal, injustice, and hardship strike. It can feel as though darkness is winning, plans crumble, trust is shattered, and pain takes hold. But what the enemy intends for harm, God uses for something far greater. The story is written throughout history. A young man is sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and thrown into prison, but in the end he rises to a position of power, saving the very people who betrayed him. A man is hunted by those he once served, forced to flee for his life, but through it all, he is prepared to rule a nation. The enemy plotted their downfall, but God used every setback as a setup for something greater. What was meant to break you will become the very thing that builds you. The suffering you endured, the betrayal you faced, the rejection that cut deep, none of it is wasted. Every hardship is woven into a greater purpose, one that could not have been fulfilled without the trials. The enemy brings storms to destroy, but God uses them to strengthen. The enemy sends pain to weaken, but God turns it into perseverance. The enemy tries to silence, but God uses every hardship as a testimony of His power. Do not fear what has come against you. Do not believe the lie that this is the end. The enemy may have a plan for evil, but God's plan is greater. And when He turns it for good, it will not only bless you, it will bless those around you, and His glory will be seen through it all. Life is not just about what happens to you. It is about how you respond. Trials will come, betrayal will strike, People will disappoint you. The storms of life are unavoidable, but what matters is not just the storm itself, but how you choose to face it. Pain has a way of testing the heart. When wronged, the natural response is to hold on to anger, to seek revenge, to let bitterness take root. But that road only leads to more suffering. The true test is not in what others do to you, but in how you respond. Will you allow the pain to make you hard, or will you trust God to heal? Will you take matters into your own hands, or will you leave it in His? The greatest battles are often won not by fighting back, but by surrendering to God's will, by choosing faith over fear, by choosing forgiveness over resentment, by choosing to believe that even when things seem unfair, He is still in control. Your response in times of trial shapes your future. It determines whether the wounds of the past will hold you captive or whether you will rise above them stronger and wiser. It is not easy to turn the other cheek, to forgive when it feels undeserved, to trust when everything seems lost. But those who do, those who keep their eyes on Him rather than on the offense, will see His hand move in ways beyond imagination. You may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And when you choose to respond in faith, in love, and in trust, you open the door for Him to turn even the worst circumstances into something greater than you could have ever planned. There are moments in life when you are falsely accused, misjudged, or treated unfairly. People may spread lies about you, twist your words, or betray your trust. You may feel powerless to defend yourself, unable to set the record straight. But take heart, your defense does not rest in human hands. The one who sees all things, who knows the truth, will vindicate you in His perfect time. It can be difficult to wait when injustice seems to prevail. The world moves quickly to judge, and those who speak falsely may appear to succeed, but nothing is hidden from Him. He sees what others do in secret. He knows the motives of every heart, and though it may seem like the wicked go unpunished, justice belongs to Him, and He will not fail to act. Vindication does not always come when or how you expect it. Sometimes He works behind the scenes, turning the hearts of people, revealing the truth in ways you could never orchestrate. Other times He allows you to walk through the fire, refining you, preparing you for something greater. What feels like delay is not neglect, it is divine timing. Your job is not to fight for your own name, to seek revenge, or to prove yourself to those who refuse to see the truth. Your job is to remain faithful, to trust that He is working even when you cannot see it. Those who stand against you may think they have won, but in the end it is not their judgment that matters, it is His. In His time, He will lift you up. He will silence the voices of falsehood. He will make known the truth. And when He vindicates you, no one will be able to deny that it was His hand at work. Rest in that promise, for He is faithful and He will never fail to uphold those who trust in Him. Maybe today you feel broken. Maybe you're struggling to understand why someone you loved could hurt you so deeply. Let me remind you, God has not forgotten you. He will heal your heart. He will lift you up, and in His perfect time, He will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. So don't fight back. Don't seek revenge. Trust the one who fights for you, the one who says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," the one who never abandons His own. And when the dust settles, when the battle is over, you will see God was defending you all along, and He always will.